when I say that you are the least qualified FBI director in the history of the FBI, that is real, because you are the only one that never even served with the FBI prior to joining, yet we are supposed to believe that you are the greatest thing since sliced bread. I didn't ask you a question.
That is not an opinion. That is a documented fact. Every FBI director before Kash Patel, from J. Edgar Hoover through Christopher Wray, came to the job with experience inside the institution they were about to lead. Patel did not. He is the first and only FBI director in the history of the agency who never served a single day as an FBI agent or official before being handed the keys. Representative Jasmine Crockett came to this hearing to make sure that fact was on the record, and then she spent 5 more minutes explaining exactly what it means.
Man, oh man, there has been so much today, and I truly don't know where to start.
Representative Jasmine Crockett of Texas is a former criminal defense attorney. She is not a lawmaker who performs for attention. When she comes to a hearing with a list, there are items on it. Today, she had one central thesis. Kash Patel is the least qualified FBI director in the history of the agency, and she built a documented case around it piece by piece. The open question that runs through this entire hearing is this. When the chairman finished reading Patel's resume in his defense, and when Patel himself responded with 5 words, "I don't give a damn," did either of them actually answer what Crockett said? By the end of this video, you will have everything you need to decide.
So a couple of facts that we need to make clear for everyone is that, number one, Director Christopher Wray, when he was appointed to be the head of the FBI, was appointed by Donald Trump. Now, I will agree that I definitely take issue with a number of decisions that Donald Trump makes, especially when it comes to the people that he decides to appoint to very important positions, including this one, because I did have to make sure that I wasn't going crazy.
She started by acknowledging that Christopher Wray, the director Patel replaced, was also a Trump appointee. That is not a small detail. It is a deliberate framing. She is not making a partisan argument about Republican versus Democrat leadership. She is making a specific argument about this specific man and whether he is qualified for this specific job. And before she makes the argument, she checks herself. She says she had to make sure she wasn't going crazy, because what she is about to say is a factual claim, not a talking point. And she wanted to be certain it was accurate before she said it out loud.
But when I say that you are the least qualified FBI director in the history of the FBI, that is real, because you are the only one that never even served with the FBI prior to joining, yet we are supposed to believe that you are the greatest thing since sliced bread. I didn't ask you a question. Now, what I want to go through is to talk about why you are a failure and why, honestly, we just need to tell you bye-bye.
Stop there, because something happened in that exchange that did not get nearly enough attention. When Crockett made the least qualified claim, Patel tried to interrupt. He started to speak before she was done, and she stopped him cold. "I didn't ask you a question. In a congressional hearing, the person holding the floor controls the floor, and she did not yield it. She told him she was going to talk about why he is a failure, why they need to tell him bye-bye, and then she went directly into the evidence. That word, failure, was not rhetorical. It was a section header. She had a list. The first item on it was one that she said began before Patel was even confirmed.
So before you were even confirmed, and I think one of my colleague from Georgia, pointed out that you were already targeting career officials so that you could direct illegal firings. Mind you, these cases that you were so upset about, which are the ones tied to Trump, the cases came through his handpicked FBI director.
Before he was confirmed. That is the specific claim. Career officials were being targeted for termination before Patel had formally taken the job. And she adds a detail that cuts directly against his standard defense. The cases Patel was most furious about. The investigations of Donald Trump were brought by Christopher Wray, Trump's own handpicked FBI director. The cases did not come from the deep state or political opponents. They came from inside the institution Patel now runs, under the director Trump himself appointed. That fact is inconvenient for anyone arguing that the cases were politically motivated, and it is the foundation Crockett needed for everything that came next.
And frankly, when people sit around and say things like, oh, you know, we're happy because now we feel safe, I don't know who feels safe in this country except for the white supremacists, because I specifically as a black woman definitely don't feel safe. And frankly, my colleagues have been real nice to you today, and I applaud them, but I don't have the same demeanor because I know that multiple colleagues on this side of the aisle have faced death threats. In fact, somebody tried to kill one of my colleagues, and frankly, I don't know if this FBI or under your leadership, if those people would have been caught. I don't have any confidence in you.
She made a personal statement and then immediately moved past it. She is a black woman, and she does not feel safe. She said it once. She did not dwell on it. Because what she needed to establish was not a feeling. It was a pattern. She named colleagues who had received death threats. She referenced an assassination attempt against a sitting member of Congress. And then she said something that should have produced an immediate response from the FBI director in that room. She does not know if under his leadership those responsible would have been caught. That is not a political attack. That is a question about institutional competence. Patel did not answer it. What Crockett did next was the move no one expected from her.
And if we start talking about the reasons that I lack confidence, we could start with you not just wanting to acknowledge some simple facts. Simple facts like the vast majority of the threats are coming from right-wing extremism. And I know my colleagues have tried to stress this, but I decided that I would maybe do it in a different way. Number one, I have a couple of UCs. Kim Buck, one of multiple Republicans receiving death threats for voting against Jim Jordan as House Speaker.
Without objection.
Another one, Republican lawmaker says she received death threats after voting against Jim Jordan in Speaker's race.
Without objection.
In addition, there was another one from another colleague who now is leaving Congress because they said that they were calling his wife anonymously and threatening her life to the extent that she ended up sleeping with a firearm.
Without objection.
Okay.
This was the strategic move of the hearing. She did not use Democratic examples to prove right-wing extremism is the dominant threat. She used Republican ones. Kim Buck, Republican, the lawmaker who received death threats for voting against Jim Jordan. Republican, the colleague whose wife was sleeping with a firearm because of anonymous threatening phone calls. Republican. These are not people who would be dismissed as partisan sources. They are members of the same party as the man sitting across from her. She entered those documents into the congressional record. They are now evidence, and the implicit question they raise is the same question she asked about the assassination attempt. Under Kash Patel's FBI, are these cases being treated as the priority the numbers say they should be?
How are we supposed to have confidence when you're sitting up here telling the Senate yesterday that it will take you 14 years before you can get the FBI fully staffed to do their jobs? You're also now redirecting resources so that they can go and play ICE agents on the streets. You're getting rid of your most qualified people.
14 years. That is not Crockett's number. That is Kash Patel's number. He said it in Senate testimony the day before this hearing. 14 years to fully staff the FBI, while simultaneously pulling agents away from their core investigative work to assist with immigration enforcement. What Crockett calls playing ICE agents on the streets. And while doing all of that, the agency has been shedding the people with the most institutional experience. The senior agents, the career investigators, the ones who know how cases are built and closed. The director who arrived without ever having served a day in the FBI is now telling Congress it will take his bureau 14 years to be fully functional. And then he had a dinner.
People, and even when it came down to somebody that you consider to be a friend, you were posted up having some fancy dinner to the extent that you posted not only once erroneously, you posted twice erroneously as it relates to catching somebody, and then you want to go and say, let me take a victory lap, because honestly, if it wasn't for parents deciding that they were going to turn in their child, it seems like y'all wouldn't have got there. even though he literally confessed online.
This is the specific incident Crockett is referencing. Kash Patel was at a dinner while a case was breaking. He posted about it on social media, took credit for an arrest, and the post was wrong. Then he posted again, also wrong, twice. The person was eventually caught. But according to Crockett, the reason for the capture was not FBI investigative work. It was parents making the decision to turn in their own child, and the individual had already confessed online. She is not describing a complicated counterterrorism operation where the Bureau outmaneuvered a sophisticated enemy. She is describing a case where a family member made the call and the suspect had already posted about it himself. And the FBI director posted a victory lap, twice wrong.
The day after all of this took place, there was domestic terrorism that was taking place at HBCUs. They were targeted. Yet I didn't hear anything from the FBI about what was going on. And again, black people kept saying, how did we end up in this? Because the numbers are so very clear that white supremacy is a problem. And honestly, I've not heard anything out of you today that makes me believe that you're going to do anything about the white supremacy problem. The one that is leading to children being killed, children being shot, as well as members of their community as they're worshiping in their churches.
The day after the fancy dinner posting incident, domestic terrorism targeted a historically black college or university. Crockett did not hear from the FBI about it. She made one final point before her time expired. In this entire hearing, Kash Patel said nothing that made her believe the white supremacy problem, which she says the data clearly identifies as the dominant domestic threat, will be addressed under his leadership. The chairman then called her time, and what happened next was where this hearing took its final turn.
I'll respond. Kash Patel, as I said when I introduced him, public defender, former prosecutor, top staffer on the House Intelligence Committee, Deputy Director of National Intelligence with the National Security Council, Chief of Staff at the Department of Defense, and FBI Director. I think that's a pretty good resume for the guy who's now running the top law enforcement agency in our country.
Director Patel, I think you're witnessing some auditions, clickbait auditions for the Academy Award for my Democratic colleagues. We'll see how they fare as they're on MSNBC later on today. Do you care, before I launch into my line of questioning, to respond to Ms. Crockett from Texas on that very elaborate and theatric display?
The chairman read Patel's resume: public defender, prosecutor, House Intelligence Committee, National Security Council, Department of Defense. It is an impressive list of credentials in government service. What it does not contain, and what Crockett's central claim is built on, is a single day working inside the FBI. The chairman listed every role Patel held before becoming director. None of them were at the bureau he now leads. The resume defense did not address the argument. It confirmed it. And then the South Carolina Republican invited Patel to respond, calling Crockett's presentation a theatric display and an audition for cable news. Patel's answer was 5 words.
Here's what I've learned in my government service. I don't give a damn what they say about me as long as I'm succeeding in the mission. We're succeeding in the mission because the men and women of the FBI have never been empowered to do more work and to hit the streets harder than by President Trump's authorities and resources he's given us. And so all I care about is that we are capturing more child predators than ever before, taking more drugs off the streets than ever before, that we are capturing murderers at a significantly historic rate, and we're delivering this country the lowest murder rate in recorded history. That are facts that you cannot dispute. But you can come at me all you want. I don't care.
I don't give a damn. That is his answer to a congresswoman who documented illegal pre-confirmation firings, Republican lawmakers receiving death threats, a 14-year staffing crisis he described himself, social media posts that were wrong twice, and domestic terrorism at an HBCU that the FBI did not address publicly. His response was not to refute any of those specific charges. It was to say he does not care what anyone says as long as he is succeeding in the mission. He listed statistics: child predators, drug seizures, murder rates. He did not mention the qualification question. He did not explain the 14 years. He did not address the double-wrong social media posts. He did not say anything about the HBCU. He said, "I don't give a damn. You can come at me all you want. I don't care." And here is the closing thought that this hearing leaves behind. Jasmine Crockett made a documented, factual, verifiable argument. Kash Patel is the only FBI director in the history of the agency who never served a single day in the FBI before leading it. The chairman's response was to read a resume that confirmed it, and Patel's own response was to say he does not care what anyone thinks. None of those three responses addressed the question. The least qualified claim is either true or it is not. After this hearing, it remains unanswered.